Throughout history, comedy has served more than just entertainment. It's often been a tool for survival, critique, and even resistance. One of the most iconic roles in comedy's history is that of the court jester, also known as the fool or buffoon. These weren't just clowns in colorful outfits juggling or telling jokes. They played a critical role in medieval and Renaissance courts, sometimes holding more influence than noblemen, through humor. The position of the jester was born out of necessity. In medieval times, monarchs were surrounded by advisors, generals, and nobles who usually told them exactly what they wanted to hear. This created echo chambers, and we all know that's dangerous for any leader. A jester was brought in as someone who could say what others couldn't. Wrapped in laughter and absurdity, a jester could criticize a king's decision, point out hypocrisies, or expose corruption, without the fear of losing his head. But why were jesters allowed to speak so freely, especially in times when a poorly timed joke could literally be a death sentence? The key was their role as licensed fools. Monarchs knew that unchecked power could blind them to reality. A clever jester worked like a pressure valve, allowing difficult truths to be said in a way that felt safe. They created distance between the message and the messenger. If a noble criticized a king, it was treason. If a jester said it with a smirk and a punchline, it was tolerated. This dance of humor and truth-telling wasn't just accepted, it was often encouraged. Kings like Henry VIII and Philip IV of Spain had jesters they trusted deeply. These fools weren't just entertainers, they were counselors. They used sarcasm, satire, mimicry, and riddles to influence decisions. And though they wore bells and motley, many jesters were highly intelligent and observant. The best could read a room like diplomats and deliver a harsh truth with wit. Jesters had a unique kind of immunity, but it wasn't unlimited. They had to be skilled to avoid crossing the line. One wrong joke, too direct or too personal, and their heads could roll. It was a high-risk role, but those who mastered it became essential. Some even gained land, money, and social status. In a sense, they were the first comedians with a platform, and permission, to challenge power. Their role evolved over time. In Shakespeare's plays, fools often speak the deepest truths. Think of the fool in King Lear, who questions the king while others stay silent. Shakespeare understood the jester's power. He used them to represent conscience, logic, and the painful clarity that can only come through humor. Jesters didn't only exist in Europe. Across cultures, similar roles appeared. In China, imperial jesters like Yu Ziyuan used wit to advise emperors. In Native American traditions, there were trickster figures, humorous, mischievous characters who taught moral lessons. The idea of the sacred clown also appears in some indigenous cultures, showing how laughter and truth-telling are deeply connected in human history. But what about today? Do jesters still exist? Not in the classic sense. You won't find a guy in a jingly hat wandering the White House or Buckingham Palace. But the jester's spirit is alive, and more powerful than ever. Today's jesters are comedians, satirists, late-night show hosts, meme creators, and even TikTokers. People like John Oliver, Trevor Noah, Hassan Minhaj, and legends like George Carlin and Dave Chappelle carry the tradition of using laughter to speak truth to power. They blend comedy with commentary, making people laugh while making them think. In doing so, they offer a way to cope with tough realities, and a reason to question what we're told. Comedy today works on many levels. Stand-up specials, viral skits, political cartoons, monologues. These are the modern stages for jesters. They may not wear motley or carry a scepter shaped like a fool's head, but their impact is just as sharp. Some jokes spark outrage, others inspire change. A well-timed line can go viral and shift public conversations. Sometimes comedy hits harder than a news story. A stand-up special mocking a corrupt leader can reach more hearts and minds than a policy paper. Humor lowers defenses. It invites people in. That's why it's powerful. That's why it's dangerous. And that's why, even today, authoritarian regimes often try to silence comedians. In countries where speech is tightly controlled, comedians are often among the first to be censored or arrested. That's not a coincidence. The truth, when wrapped in laughter, is still a threat. The jester's job remains relevant because we always need someone brave enough to laugh at the emperor's new clothes. Even in offices and tech spaces, we see echoes of the jester. The person in a meeting who uses humor to challenge groupthink, or the meme that sparks a nervous laugh but also a real conversation. That's the modern jester. They stir the pot, not to cause trouble, but to provoke thought and maybe even change. The jester isn't just about rebellion, though. It's also about healing. Laughter relieves stress. It builds connection. It humanizes. In a divided world, comedy can be a bridge. The jester reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously, and that sometimes, the only way to say something important is with a laugh. So next time you hear a joke that makes you uncomfortable, or makes you pause, think about its roots. The jester's mission was never just to amuse. It was to reveal truth, spark thought, and challenge the powerful. With bells or without, in castles or on YouTube, jesters still exist, reminding us that sometimes, the most powerful message is delivered with a smile. Right finger if you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for more content like this. This is J03, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.